Okay. Alrighty. Hello, community, and welcome to another featured quote episode. We had just recently started creating these featured quotes episodes inside this community. And I have selected these people who have been featured in the episodes based on their authenticity and like their willingness to serve and share their hearts, which is, in my opinion, a very important thing in coaching, the willingness to serve and authenticity. And I noticed this person named David Banker from in the community, and he started interacting with people in a very authentic way and very politely, which is very important, in my opinion, in communities, in any communities. And David is married to incredible, supportive, and loving wife, Tara, and he's a father of two young boys, Reid and Colin. He's been in the corporate finance world for almost 13 years, with the last 2 years also exploring a few avenues of entrepreneurship. And today, he's passionate about entrepreneurship, physical health, being a better person overall, and how the human mind helps and hinders these things. I love that. Human mind definitely can either help or hinder us. So welcome to the featured coach episode, David.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Really looking forward to this since we first discussed just the idea of it.
Yes.
Really happy to be here and talk about ideas that I have, that you have. I think we have some interesting overlap and find some alignments in a lot of ways. And I think we might even make some unique connections while we're on the phone here today, or on the podcast here today. I know we did the first time we spoke, so it's always fun to have conversations, even with people you know, especially new relationships. You never know what's going to come out of it.
Exactly. That's exactly how I feel it. And I do feel similar way. With just 2 days ago, I think we had this small call, and somehow I felt like we have many similarities. Actually, then I didn't even mention you that I have been working myself 7 years in financial industry, in actually insurance companies. So we were very closely cooperating with banks. So we have a lot of things in common. But yes.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, but let's get back to you. I think it's what the audience will be most interested about is, I think there might be some other people who are in either a financial industry or some corporate job and things, and be dreaming about entrepreneurship. So can you tell a little bit what got you interested about the entrepreneurship?
This is actually a perfect place to start. I would say if somebody asked me about kind of my story, I would start with, it's actually interesting. I started in a design or art school for graphic design. I love to draw. I didn't know what I wanted to do after high school, but I knew I loved to draw. So I tried that for a half a year, went to an art school locally, but wanted to keep it a hobby, very competitive. So I, asked whatever a reasonable, practical adult going out into the world might, and say what kind of a thing would be safest, broadest, get me into the work world. And I, for some reason, chose business.
Yeah.
I landed on finance just after being, in college for a few years and figuring out what I liked most. And just got into the corporate world, various different positions from there. Fast forward maybe 10 years later, 11 years later, my first son was born. I would say that my wife and I probably were a little bit more enjoying our lives, enjoying each other. We were both working and, living that, lifestyle creep, advancing in our careers, and then also
Yeah.
equally enjoying life on a similar trajectory, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's sometimes people realize that on their own, that they need to start planning for the future and being more intentional about those kinds of things. And there's one or two ways to do that. You can eat rice and beans, or you can just start dreaming bigger and doing bigger things. And
Yeah.
having kids really kind of accelerated that for me. I felt a real sense of responsibility, of wanting to set them up for going to college and being able to help them in doing whatever, chase whatever they have interest in growing up in sports and activities and just little things like that, but also bigger things, just wanting to, again, be an example for them. So
Yeah.
all these kind of ideas that kind of having kids force you to think about others, maybe more so than you had up until that point.
Yeah.
Really kind of brought all these things to light. And so I started thinking bigger. Hey, I want to, have a legacy. I want to maybe entrepreneurship or a side hustle or doing these sorts of things, or even just really trying to advance in my career with the company I was at. Just trying harder for bigger reasons outside of myself. I pretty quickly came up against my own, I would say, limitations and barriers and just things that made me realize that I've been operating within my own sort of comfort zone. Procrastination was something that I suffered with. I oftentimes would get things done and get projects over the finish line, probably not as good as I could had I planned better and not suffered from that sort of very crippling habit, transparently. So I was trying different things and bumping up against this limiting belief and in my mind, habit that wasn't serving me. And that's what got me into entrepreneurship, but it was also what really, really highlighted, my interest in, why can't I figure this out? What in my mind, because I knew that was it. I knew that I had flashes in the pan of really creative problem solving and having great ideas. And in moments of necessity, I can push past these things. So it's like, why can't I do it all the time with intention, when I want to? And it really kind of caused me to dive deeper into that and try and learn as much as I can. And now what that looked like was a lot of common paths that people take, which is just motivation and personal development and, positive thinking and those sorts of things. And they were great. But they didn't last for me. So I would say that it's been a meandering path with lots of different teachers, but that kind of brought me to wanting to coach others because I sort of came across a framework that was really useful for me. So right now, entrepreneurially, I really enjoy real estate. I have invested in one short-term rental property. So it's on Airbnb and I'm self-manage that. And I am looking to expand that business as well. Not spending a ton of time in that right now. I would say it could grow organically. I just have conversations with folks in that business all the time. So that's something that I have kind of ventured into and find really interesting. But the coaching side of things, like I mentioned, I sort of found something that worked really well for me. And I am super passionate about sharing that with as many people as I can. And, I love the idea of business and creating value in the world. It serves a few different purposes and things for me. I think that it's incredibly, it's a responsibility for me personally that I've taken on to to help others, to create more value for them so they can go on and create more value in the world. And it's a flywheel of sorts, and it's exponential. And I think that it takes a lot fewer numbers of people that have this massive shift in how they interact in the world to really kind of tip the scales. And that's really exciting to me. And it's a business and not a hobby and not a philanthropic effort at this point, because it takes money to hire more people and bring this on at a scale that I want to get it to. I love talking with people one-on-one. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think you can take things really deep, and I will do some of that as well. And you can make some massive transformations for people in small or individual settings. But I also think that you can do really, really well and get very close to a similar result with different aids and concepts and tools and that sort of thing that can be shared with a lot more people. So anyway, that's the whole reason why this needs to be a business that will grow and grow. And I think that that's, again, my responsibility. And I feel that really, really deeply. So I'm excited to get it started here. And of course, we'll go into what those tools and ideas and frameworks that have worked for me actually look like.
Yeah, please. That would be very interesting to hear more about that thing. And how did you eventually come into that place of discovering these things? Because you mentioned that well, first of all, thank you again for your openness. Like I mentioned, you have been interacting authentically in this community. And you seem to keep doing it, like you shared that you was like struggling with this procrastination and these things. So maybe you want to share us a little bit more about, in more detail, like what did you discover on your way?
Yeah. I think everybody probably has an example of somebody, if it's not someone outside themselves, they have a sense for the kind of person that they want to be, or a goal. It's a doing goal. It's an achievement they can quantify, or it's a being goal. I want to be healthier. I want to be a better parent. I want to be more joyful, more patient, or I want to have X dollars. I want to lose X pounds. I want to start X business. In those various fields, you have some point of reference. It's either, again, the version of you in the future that has those things, does those things, or somebody outside yourself who you admire, who you look up to. And chances are you see some glimpse in that person of yourself. And that's kind of, that creates that mutual connection and creates that desire. You see kind of what's good about that, what you admire about it, and therein becomes your goal and what you want to work toward. It's a great thing to realize and understand that you want to grow. I think that's why we're here. I think there's lots of challenges in life. There's good times and bad times, or so we've labeled them. There are circumstances in life that make it easy to be relaxed and happy and joyful, and other times that make it more difficult.
Yeah, definitely. I can relate to that.
Yeah, absolutely. And so when you come across these challenges, people that have success in whatever those areas, those pillars of life, whatever those goals that they were working after over the course of weeks, days, years, they are here now. And oftentimes they're being interviewed, or they're putting out content and talking about where they are now. And if they're trying to help, they talk about the journey and the struggle as well, getting there, maybe where they started, the challenges along the way, and then how they got to where they are today. The missing component for me, with a lot of these people, the more thoughtful, the more well-known thinkers that go a deeper level do a better job of this, of explaining more useful mindset tactics and elements. But like, there's also a large group of successful people that talk about, a grind and just working harder. And
Yeah.
I didn't, I hit rock bottom and I didn't want to go back, or,
Yeah.
my kid was sick and I had no choice. This sense of true necessity was there for them. There's some high emotion, intense moment in their life that made pushing forward absolutely required. And that works. And I'll talk about why that works too. But for a lot of people, they're comfortable in their life.
Yeah.
And they've gotten comfortable over a period of time. And there is no thorn in their side. They've adapted to the thorn. The thorn now feels a little bit comfortable. It's still a thorn, but you've kind of covered it up with all sorts of different mechanisms, distractions, comforts, little dopamine hits, little things that take those little pricks of pain away, and you've adapted to it. And all of a sudden you're 10 years down the road and you're in the same place or worse. And why does this feel comfortable? It's like your past self would want to shake you awake, or future self, however you want to think about it. Anyway, they don't have this driving factor, this thing that pushes somebody over the edge to take action and not stop taking action.
Yes.
All of these successful people hit these points. Maybe it's one, maybe it's a few key moments where like the average person would hit that wall and turn back, but they pushed forward. In that moment, they had a belief in something. They had a thought about the situation, the problem in front of them, and that gave them enough energy and motivation and determination and discipline to keep doing what they needed to do. Then they took the action that they needed to take. If it worked, great, they got the result. If it didn't work, they came back to that same point and had that determination and drive to try something new.
Yeah.
Those thoughts that they're having in that moment, they thought those sentences danced across their mind, aware of it or not, enough times with emotion such that it got ingrained into their belief system, into their subconscious belief system.
Yeah.
Those beliefs were things that they didn't need to question anymore. They didn't need to actively try and think about it. People do affirmations. Helpful if you believe them. If you don't, not helpful.
Yeah, true. Your brain
I can
says
say
that's not true. You're saying it, but you're not really meaning it.
Absolutely. There's a little whisper. Some whispers are louder than others, but there's a whisper, and if you don't believe it, it's like, I don't think so. No, nice thought. But these people believed these things, and whether they're aware of this thought process happening or not is irrelevant right now for this point in the illustration. But they believed something about the situation in front of them to their core, and the belief in something is what creates the emotion and the energy and the discipline to do the action needed.
Yeah.
So if they were doing everyone in the audience a true service to trying to help the audience do the same things that they were able to do, they would focus on what they believe and know to be true about themselves, their own capabilities, the world around them, other people that they interact with, and they would tease out and really isolate and highlight what those thoughts and now beliefs are that they know cold, so that they can take the action they need to. And why that's a service to everyone is because those thoughts and beliefs, you can adopt them. Anyone can adopt ideas and beliefs that they have and use them in your own life, or some variation of it, relate it to the situation that you're in, and use it to your advantage. And even if you can't get to where they are now, like if somebody has a $1 billion business right now, they know things about the world and what's possible in the world that I maybe can conceptually understand, but
Yeah.
I don't believe it. I don't believe
Yeah.
that that's possible for me. If they were to say, oh yeah, I can just walk into that room and pitch $100 million, apartment building and get investors, to sign up in a week, and I can fill that. This is just what I think about regularly. So, but apply it wherever you want. I can get on stage and talk to 100,000 people, no problem, and they'll buy into what I'm. These are big, hairy, audacious beliefs and goals. And the people that are doing those things know those, again, in their subconscious. It's a belief. They've thought it enough times with emotion. They've had enough evidence to themselves that they believe it.
Yeah.
Therefore, they have, when they think about these things, these events that they're going to go do, they create the energy automatically. Maybe there's still some fear in them. That's just a sign of growing no matter where you are. But the determination and the mental state is such that they can just go and do it. But if somebody else is just starting in their speaking career or investing career, entrepreneurship journey, or health and wellness or whatever, try to believe that, you get nervous, you get red in the face, your heart starts beating faster, because your subconscious, your self-concept of yourself at the deepest level doesn't believe the same things about the people that are successful. Now, why does all this matter? Like I alluded to, those thoughts and beliefs and ideas, you can either adopt them, and if you believe it right off the bat, fantastic. That's really great. But chances are that you might have to find an interim bridge thought that you do believe.
Yes.
My belief might not be, I know how to make $10 million. My belief might be, I'm open to the idea of making $1 million over the next few years. I can prove that to myself with little actions and finding evidence from people in my similar position. I can take, small actions to say, I know I need to start putting content out there. I know I need to just grow an email list. I can take little actions to show that I can figure these things out. You can see how you can start to build up your belief in these thoughts, these new belief systems. You can intentionally do things to prove to yourself why these new beliefs can be for you also. You can work yourself up to the full belief. And the whole reason you need to do this is because you need to be showing up in the world, thinking, feeling, and acting in a way that your future self would need to be doing to be showing up to get whatever goal target you're getting. If you're going to get somewhere you want to go, you have to be showing up and acting in the world as that person would, period. So that's a bit about why thoughts matter and beliefs matter. And part of the issue is that most people aren't even aware of these thoughts that are bubbling up automatically. That's stage 1, stage 0. Those are running your life until you become aware of it, and then you realize that they're optional.
And it's a very good point, and it's much easier to think, be, feel, and act like the person who has just made their first $1,000 in their business instead of who own a Fortune 500 company or something. Just an example. I actually heard an example of the same topic, of like an example that if you go to Carousel, this amusement park where there's this carousel, but goes around like this. and if it goes this fast, you can never jump into it. So your goal, your first steps should be something that the carousel is rolling with a speed that you're actually able to jump there. And once you there, you can jump to the next carousel and next carousel. You know, like eventually you realize, hey, I can actually climb through this carousel to the next one. And like I think there's a good point there what you mentioned, because that's do you believe that's something that might be actually for some people who might be listening to this right now and they're very much on personal development and growth, and they want to grow and they feel like stuck, they're not getting the results? Do you believe this could be one reason why it's not working for them like they maybe think it should be working for them?
When you say what's not working, are you referring to whatever personal development sort of strategy or tactics they're trying to use to get unstuck?
Yeah. So do you believe this concept that you explained could be like one reason for that, or what do you think about that?
I don't think that what is often taught, not everything, what I'm trying to describe is nothing new. People in the past have packaged it up in many different ways, and in fact, I've kind of learned the ideas from many different teachers as well. This is just kind of the way that it makes the most sense to me. What is out there a lot is giving you a sense of motivation, of hyping yourself up, of giving you confidence, and all these positive emotions and energy to kind of take action. I think where they fall short is helping you to kind of create a habit of constant awareness of your thoughts in your mind as much as you possibly can. Because I'm just thinking of some without being able to point specifically to names or influencers, because there's so many, but like starting the day with gratitude is a great example. You can't be grateful and fearful at the same time. That's like a chemical thing, and I'm no scientist, and forgive me for not. I'd love to back all of this up, like partner with somebody in psychology and all that kind of thing, so they can validate what I'm saying in a science back way, just because that's how my brain works. But I can't. So forgive me for that. But gratitude and fear either can't be active at the same time, or it's very difficult, or one is a heavy majority, or whatever it is. So like the practice of gratitude is beautiful. It's spiritual for a lot of reasons, but it also just puts you in a really positive energy. Affirmations and writing down reasons why today's an opportunity, and why you are forcing yourself to find reasons why you are valuable and capable, and all these things. These are all great practices, but people do them in the morning or when they're feeling really, really down, if they're that aware, in the middle of the day. But it's all the in-between moments. It's all the other times when that practice wears off, and you fall back into that automatic mode, which is, again, if you're not aware of it, it's all of these subconscious thoughts, and it's everything that your self-concept and essentially what you think of yourself at the deepest level, again, is producing. You're running into a situation at work, with relationships, with something you're trying to do and accomplish. And if it's something new, if it's something that you're working toward, there's limitations, because it requires growth, and that's uncomfortable. And you're your subconscious has like this motivational triad. It's got to be, you know, least effort, avoiding pain, seeking pleasure. Like this is for survival purposes. So you going out and trying to, you know, do something really painful, like sprint full out 10 times in a row. Like me even just thinking about that, I like to go on the rowing machine, and I do like a really hard, it's called a Tabata set, and it's like 20 seconds intense on, 10 seconds rest, and you repeat that for 4 minutes, which doesn't sound like a lot, but man, if you've ever done one, it physically hurts.
Yeah, I've done it sometimes. It's really
it hurts. Tough, so like so just thinking about that, I still come up against, you know, just the thought, the perception of the pain of that, I immediately have the urge to do just about anything else.
Yeah,
It doesn't matter. But I also have this about, it's better now. It used to be all the time, but I used to have this about starting to learn a new system or process. Just the idea of it just created this sense of wanting to do just about anything else. And that's, maybe it's the fear of not being able to figure something out, just doing something new and uncomfortable. Like there's those limitations that I have in myself, that is my self-concept, my self-identity. And something that threatens that is challenging for my subconscious to want to accept. So it creates these limiting thoughts, these doubts that create, of course, a pit in my stomach, sense of fear. And those emotions are really powerful. And if you're not conscious and aware, those emotions are enough to just cause you to go do just about anything else. Again, like I said, something more pleasurable, something that you've done before, you're confident in, just to get a quick win. And oftentimes people eat to feel better in that way. They do something that is disguised as productive. Like
bad habits, whatever.
Organize. It could be a truly bad habit that's obvious that it's bad, or it could be something that this is the sneaky one. Like you could go and organize a closet, or try and plan out your next day, or do some research. All things that seem productive, but at the end of the day, you know, it's not the one thing that you need to be doing.
Like the way to escape, actually. You kind of like subconsciously might be persuading yourself that, this is what I should be doing, but deep down, you know that there is this other thing that I really should be doing, and you're just kind of running away from it.
So this touches a little bit on kind of where we started, which is why these other tactics might not have worked in personal development to get unstuck. Not being able to catch yourself and observe yourself think, and the thoughts and belief systems and emotions that are ultimately causing you to do something or not do something. Awareness of all this is everything, as much as you possibly can be. Again, I think people can take up these wonderful morning routines and get primed for the day. But man, one or two big, something that just punches you in the face of difficulty or scariness or challenge or whatever, you fall right back into all the reasons why it's challenging. Like, could you imagine if something came up, like some fire drill in your business, or like your boss is, coming down on you for something like that? You're immediately into primal protective mode, which is not the creative, imaginative, abundant mindset and energy that you need to be in. That incredible feeling that you have when you come out of a gratitude practice, or strategically thinking about like what you want to do, your goals, like all that stuff feels really good. And imagine being able to tackle the problems of the day in that state of mind, instead of fear and running and just trying to protect yourself and letting all these kind of, damn it, I knew I knew I couldn't handle this project, or, like that's, if you can imagine those thoughts and beliefs about yourself.
Yeah.
One is I'm going to go hide in a hole and buffer and try and avoid that feeling with whatever bad habits they are, food or doing something unproductive or going on social media, whatever, to get a little bit of dopamine hits so that you can chemically, literally feel better.
Yeah.
And in the other state of mind, you go into problem solving mode.
Yeah.
Period.
Can you tell us a little bit about what has been, like you mentioned, those things like gratitude practices and morning routines and all those? I'm sure many people and maybe most people in this community have heard about them. Like you mentioned, it's very common thing. So, but in terms of, like, we know, it's not the everything. It's very useful, but it's not everything. So what has been useful for you in actually being able to stay better in that mode where when something happens in the work, like your boss and everything that has helped you from going into that protect or survival mode or something like that?
Yes. That's a great question. I think that in practice, it's not something you can flip a switch on for. Initially, you might set environmental triggers, reminders on your phone, some pictures or signs on your wall where you work, or, just reminders, that kind of thing. I still have that, and it's useful. But reminders to stay conscious and aware and be observing what's happening up here in your mind. Just that practice alone of checking in with yourself regularly, and a habit of feeling what's going on, in your body, like the physical sensations, vibrations that you feel, that you might ascribe to fear or happiness, or there's a lightness, or there's a heaviness, or I feel it in my chest, my neck, my fingers get tingly, all these things manifest in different ways. Getting good at feeling those and labeling them and just sitting with it. Like, people avoid, like, if you feel joyful and happy and in love, or just grateful, like, those are great feelings, like in your body. Those are a lot of fun. The opposite is very, very uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable. And all of that people avoid. Like, this is going back to that motivational triad. Like, they're very, very effective. The chemicals that get released in your body and how it physically shows up is very effective at getting you to avoid doing whatever the thing that your subconscious is trying to make you avoid, right? But excuse me, getting really good at sitting with, acknowledging, labeling, and being aware of, and just processing those feelings, just those emotions, those feelings. Getting good at noticing them, being with them, and then going a level deeper, a level back, the preceding step, observing what thoughts you're thinking in that moment. Connecting that your thoughts, your beliefs about the situation, go back to that moment where, you just messed up on a project, you're something didn't quite go right at work, whatever it is. There's a million thoughts running through your head. Like, you feel like garbage physically. And if you're still enough, aware enough, you can see these sentences dancing across your mind's eye, right? If you want to meditate and pretend that you're just observing it, you're like a fly on the wall watching yourself think, you're going to see things like, I knew I couldn't handle this. Why did I take on such a big project? This was, I couldn't figure it out. Of course I couldn't figure it out. Like, this is, all these things that are not useful in any way. And that's what's creating that pit in your stomach, so that you don't do that again, right? Your subconscious mind your brain does not want you to go and do that scary, uncomfortable, new, challenging thing again. So it's trying to give you emotion and thoughts so that you stay safer next time.
Yeah.
Of course, that's not useful, right? What you can do in that moment is lay out the facts of the situation. In that exact scenario, I might say, there was a project, there was a business problem that I was seeking to solve with some sort of presentation or model. It wasn't successful. And I know that I'm creative. I know that I can solve problems. I know that I'm valuable to this company. I know that I just have to get started, and then a sense of flow will kick in, and creativity, and again, problem solving. I know that trying something and failing is just an opportunity to learn what didn't work.
Yeah.
I know that I've done a lot of things in my past, and that wouldn't be possible if I was as big of an idiot that my subconscious is telling me that I truly am. There's some proof that I tend to forget. I know all these things. So yes, this happened, and I know all these things about myself and what's possible and capable in the world. I believe all those thoughts, right? If I say those enough times and I believe them, that's going to create a very different energy in me, rather than sitting and stewing in all the negative thoughts.
Yeah.
So that's a quick shift in just your energy and how you're going to show up. And it can take you very quickly out of this negative spiral that goes down very quickly, that I'm sure most people know. Just the awareness of these negative automatic thoughts, and then that you can switch them, you can substitute them, they're optional, into more empowering ones, is life-changing to many people who don't even have awareness that they're having these thoughts. They just think that these emotions and things bubble up, and there's these situations that happen in their life, and that's just what it is. And then they start seeking external factors. Sorry, once switched on me.
Yes, you're back.
Then they start seeking external factors and trying to change them and control them so that they don't have to feel those painful situations. They hope that they get on an easier project. They hope that they can convince a loved one or a friend to stop doing or start doing something so that they can feel happy. It's a manipulation of something outside themselves so that they can be more comfortable and seek more pleasure next time. So you have control over your inner state. You don't need anything outside you to change you getting out of fear and into power, creativity, and towards things you need to do. To come back to the start, you have to be aware of this in as much of your day as possible so that you can catch yourself as many times as possible. When you're procrastinating for 30 minutes or 5 hours or 2 weeks, and you can't seem to get unstuck from that, imagine having these environmental triggers that force you to stop and say, where am I? What am I doing? Is it what I should be doing? No, it's not. Okay. What am I feeling? What am I thinking that's causing those feelings? What do I believe right now about my life around me in this situation that is creating this sense of fear of something, that's creating this emotion that's making me avoid doing what I need to do?
Yeah.
And then what do I also believe that is more empowering, that will get me into the right state of mind and back on the tracks?
Yeah.
So that's everything. If you can catch yourself every half an hour, every hour, check in with yourself. Like that's that, to bring it back to your original question. Great that you do gratitude and pump yourself up first thing in the morning and get going. But 90% of the rest of your day, unless you're aware of this stuff, is going to fall back into this automatic mode, which automatic mode, the entire purpose of it is to keep you safe.
Yeah.
And safe does not mean you grow. Just safe does not mean you advance toward your goals.
Yeah. So I really like that. And the way I would like to comment that is that it seems like you have really mastered this emotional intelligence, so that you spot these emotions when you run into a negative emotion, and also you are able to notice if you run into those negative patterns, like asking those disempowering questions like, why did I fail again, and why did I take this project, I shouldn't have taken it. And then you are able to snap from there into these more empowering questions like, okay, I made a mistake and how can I make it better next time, and all these. So it seems to me like you have really mastered this kind of like emotional intelligence in many levels, and like recognizing your patterns and turning them into more empowering ones. And you mentioned to me you are also building some kind of like a program or beta group around this topic. So can you tell a little bit about that?
Yes. I'm glad you brought that up again. So when I had this moment of recognizing how unbelievably powerful it is. Sorry, my wife's trying to call me again.
It's okay.
How unbelievably powerful it is to substitute thoughts, optional thoughts that I don't have to just let run my life. I can become aware of those sentences that are driving what I do each day, and I can take control over that, and I can just I can set any goal and back into what I need to believe. Practice thinking on repeatedly with emotion so that I believe it. That's a reverse engineering, starting at the beginning. I believe that some goal is possible, so that I am practicing that, believing it, showing up in the world how I have to, so that I'm always progressing toward that goal. Like that's a kind of a cool concept in and of itself. Like pick your goal, it doesn't matter. Maybe emulate somebody that's there, ask them what they believe about themselves in the world, and you can start practicing thinking the way that they think, doing what they're doing, or rather I did it backwards, doing what they're doing, thinking what they need to think, so that you can feel what they feel and do what they do. It's a kind of an interesting way to think about it. That there's so much power in that, because I now know that I can do whatever it is that I desire to do. I just have to understand what I need to believe at the beginning. That's the start of the entire model. And it just clicked for me one day, a handful of months back, after all this self-development kind of exploration. It sort of clicked that way. I understood it conceptually, but I knew it in my bones in a moment, and I saw proof of it. I just went outside myself, what I normally would do, had a big ask in real estate, and got it. And I was like, I never would have done that. Why did I just do that? Why did that just work? And it was because I used this framework, and I said, somebody that's ahead of me that has 50 properties would have no problem with doing this. Why do I have a problem? It's my own paradigm, it's my own concept of myself, and there's this gap. So I'm just going to choose to believe that this is possible for me.
Yes.
And I can do it, and I can present myself in a way that, so anyway, there was a moment when I had that realization, and I want to share it with so many people. I can't, I get ahead of myself, and I got to be careful. But this beta group idea is a way to make this tool rather, and then subsequent tools for certain life situations and goals and so forth. But this primary tool, make it accessible to everyone. Because what spoke to me, the specific, verbiage and or the prompts or the questions are incredibly powerful. Good questions can get an okay answer, or they can force you to have just the most unbelievable insights into your own life that you would have never even, but that's good coaching. But so the right questions, the right formats, the right sequences of thinking through these negative thought loops and into more powerful ones. These are things I'm trying to refine. Oh, am I back? Sorry. Yeah. These are things I'm trying to refine and make, again, useful to and accessible and simple to understand for as many people as possible. So I want to work with a group of people that is going to really kind of get the best of me and these tools. And it's for the purpose of, again, getting it out there and having it'll probably be some format of course and mini courses and, live support, live coaching calls, a community where people can share what they're working on. And it'll really just be, it'll be a live exercise, and I know it works. I've seen it work for many other people that follow these ideas. I just, again, have to refine it and make it useful to more people. And that might look like, here's some tools, here's some frameworks and models for you to try in your own certain situation. Here's what worked for you, or here's what worked for me or you, and what didn't. I can make that better for you, and it'll be, high touch, a lot of support from me. And I truly, the fun thing about this is that it's so win-win. Whoever is in the group can pick something that maybe they're stuck with, a goal that they had. And I want to chunk it down to, what you might achieve in the next year or 6 months. I want you to decide the things that are uncomfortable, the things that maybe a future version of yourself or someone you admire would be doing right now to get the goal faster and faster. Those key activities, select some of that, and we're going to do what I'm calling fear sprints. So that's going to be something like, if you just need to make a call you've been putting off, if you need to go and post a piece of content, if you need to go and write something, if you need to go and make an offer to someone, if you guys are doing something of value and you've been putting off getting a result, a yes or a no, asking someone to give you money for what you are trying to help them with, if you've been putting this off to try to make perfect, procrastinate it, these are little things that we're going to push past those fears and barriers. And I'm going to help you sit with and feel your emotions and do the thing anyway. It's a fear sprint because in a short period of time, something that you might stumble across and naturally get to over the course of 6 months or a year, and look back and say, wow, I did that. Like, everybody looks back at their year and like, okay, that's pretty cool. I did that. What if you could do those things in 1/10 of the time, in a very compressed period of time, and do that over and over and over? What if you did something new and scary every single month, or every other week? And you can stop at the end of it and look back and be so impressed with the fact that you just did something that you've been putting off for however long, and you did it because you were able to sit with and feel your emotions and realize that it didn't kill you.
Yeah.
And now you're stronger for it. And the
Yeah.
emotions that you were avoiding is the whole reason you weren't doing it anyway. But now you have control over the beliefs and thoughts that are creating the emotions. So you're working toward a better one.
Yeah.
But also those lingering ones that are still creating the fear, you can get really good at processing those, and they don't have to divert you and pivot you away and into procrastination and avoidance. You can sit with it, you can do it. And by the way, after each of these sprints that we're going to do, you can look back and say, I just literally transformed my self-concept, my self-identity, because I now have proof of myself. I am now the person that can go and make the phone call, reach out to the person that I should have, that I feel like I had no business reaching out to. I can do the scary thing that I've been putting off. So it's these bite-sized, compressed periods of time where you're going to do something uncomfortable in line with a goal that you're trying to get to in a much shorter period of time, and you're going to transform and you're going to see it. And if you do that repeatedly over and over, you're going to be supported by these tools and ideas that allow that to happen. You're not even going to recognize yourself over the course of 6 months. Like people look back and say, I'm just a different person over the course of a year. Like a few months, this is going to happen.
Yeah. And that's very fascinating. And you mentioned that you're also trying to get these like accessible for everybody.
Yes, exactly. So, like I said, the sequences, the questions, the tools, just the usability of them are in a really good place that I think that people can start to use. But it's just like, oh, that didn't speak to my situation in this way. Maybe there's a better question that can apply toward mothers or fathers of 4 or 5 kids, because our life's just a little crazier. Or I'm in this type of industry in my business. It'd be more helpful if you could speak to, phrase or a question or a prompt in this way. It'll resonate more. There's little things like that. The structure, the framework, the bones of it will never change. But making it more applicable to your life sometimes helps people relate to these ideas more. This would all happen dynamically in a one-on-one conversation, in a one-on-one intensive coaching conversation. But what I'm trying to do is create a framework that can scale, that can be in a community, that people can still get 80-90% of the benefit with support from the community, with support from myself and my future team, and people that are all practicing the same thing. And of course the materials and the tools.
That's a beautiful vision. And then I'm sure that there is people who, after listening to this, might be interested about where they can get to know more about this topic. So if people would like to find out more about it, where could they find it?
So we are early now. It's either going to be one of 2 URLs. It's either going to be, and this will be just
I can write them actually then into the when we publish this episode.
No,
I think it's good
perfect.
so that they don't go there and see there's nothing. So then they get the correct one. So they can see it from this episode, the link.
Perfect. I will. Sorry, my phone is about to die. So it sounds like we're landing the plane, which is good timing. No, I appreciate that. I don't want to send someone to the wrong place. Forgive me, everyone who's listening. This is something that's new and very exciting for me, but we're going to get our arms around it and rubber meeting the road very soon. But yeah, there'll be essentially something that will be starting very soon. Again, a community, a group that we can all start using these tools together and supporting each other and get after some really big, scary goals that you've been avoiding.
Yeah. Everybody, I believe everybody can relate to scary goals, like people who are entrepreneurs and coaches. It's like, it's all going against the ocean of fears and scary thoughts. And I really like the way you you explained it, that we have this tendency to be like busy, but are we really productive? Are we really doing the facing the fears? Because there's even, I heard this episode where when Tim Ferriss, and then some lady asked him in the audience that how are you so productive, you get so many things done, like what do you actually do? And he said, most of the time my days are very boring, and I just meditate, take some coffee and meditate some more. Like it sounded like he's lazy or something, but what he was really doing he was really getting deep into his subconscious to find what is the next really important thing to do, which collapses all the other things. And that's why I mentioned it, because it sounds a little bit something similar to the concept that you are actually then in real life helping people to really knock down those barriers that are really holding them back. So that's a really beautiful mission.
Can you hold on 1 second? I'm only doing this because I don't want to, as we close, I don't want to drop off. So I'm plugging my phone in.
Yes.
trials of the first podcast public appearance, right?
Yeah, great.
Sorry, I'm sure the audio quality dipped a little bit here, but just to close out, I love that you kind of highlighted that. I think that people don't give enough time to really thinking about what the most important things are. There's a planning phase in all this, really assessing. I mean, there's a few different tools, like people talk about 1 year to live, right? Or I've got to, imagining myself 10 years from now, or someone super successful. Like, what are they? And they lost it all, but they had to get it back. Like they had the knowledge, but like, what are they focusing on? If I had 1 year to live, what do I need to do in this world before my time runs out? What's left is the most important things. What seems important only seems that way because you have some fear and you're trying to avoid it. You have some fear about the most important things because it's outside your comfort zone. And the fear is causing you to want to do just about anything else, like I was talking about earlier in the interview, and pivot to something that is disguised as important. I need to be more organized. I need to plan better. So I'm going to go do those things instead of making some phone calls and trying to make some sales, or lacing up my shoes and going and doing this. I'm going to plan out my meals for the next 6 months. Like, that seems like a great idea. I'm so productive. I'm so organized. For the next 6 months, it's going to be great. It's like, no, go and follow the plan that your trainer or online program laid out for you. What you have to do right now, go and do that thing. So asking questions, back to very important questions. You need to clarify what the most important things are. And that takes stillness, that takes connecting with a future version of yourself, that takes connecting with, what does my ideal version of myself believe right now is most important. So connecting to that is absolutely critical. Absolutely critical. And you can't do that if you're busy. Yeah.
That's very good. And that's a great place to end this episode. And I will be placing, and you can search also David Banker from social media, David and Banker, like in a banker. So it's easier for you to write it. That's why I said it. And it's actually quite nice that you're also in the financial industry. So, but anyways,
let's talk about that.
Yeah, thank you very much for visiting, and I will place the link here in the episode for anybody who want to see some more about this fascinating concept. And thank you very much for visiting, David. I'm happy to have you here as a featured coach. Stay tuned for the next episode. And thank you very much, David, for your authenticity and your kind spirit and great way of explaining this. That's why you are here. So
Beautiful. Thank you. This was great. Keep doing what you're doing. I'm excited to see. I think you have a discerning sense of authenticity and coaches that are really trying to do good. So I'm really excited to see who you bring on and learn from them as well.
yeah, what I've learned is that there is, well, in any business, there is many kind of people and I respect everybody. But what I see, like what really stands out in the coaching industry are the people who are like willing to go out there and share their stories authentically and go out there, speak publicly, go out, show your personality, all this thing. I think it's gonna be good for every coach to be in that. And thank you for being here, David. So you're a good example.
Of course. All right.
Thank you. See you.
Bye-bye.